Hello, we're going to carry on with our fractions work today, and first of all we're going to prepare for that by looking at multiples. So we're looking for lowest common multiples here. So remember, the multiples are the times table. So the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 and so on, 21, 24, etc. The multiples of 4 are 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28 and so on. So the common multiples of 3 and 4 are the numbers which are in both lists. Okay, so if we have a look, the first number that we come to that's in both lists is 12. And then looking a bit further along, we can see 24 is in both lists. And there would be more the further along those lines that we go. Okay, so the common multiples of 3 and 4 are 12, 24, the next one will be 36, 48 and so on. But we're asked for the lowest common multiple of these pairs of numbers. So the lowest common multiple is the smallest number that's in both lists, so that would be the 12. Okay, so the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4 is 12. Okay, so we need to do the same thing now for the other ones. So if we think about 2 and 6, think about the times tables. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 and so on. 6 is 6, 12, 18, 24, 30 and so on. And the common multiples then are the ones that are in both lists. And we can see that because 6 is in the 2 times table, 6 is the lowest common multiple. Other multiples would be all the other multiples of 6. So 12, and then we'd have 18 and 24 and so on. Okay, so the lowest common multiple of 2 and 6 is 6. Okay, let's think about 9 and 12. So we've got 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54 and so on. 12, we've got 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, 72 and so on. And remember, we're only needing the lowest common multiple. So really, as soon as we get to a number that's in both lists, we can stop. So we've got, if we have a look in both lists there, the first number that we come to that is in both lists is 36. Okay, 72 would be along there as well in the 12 times table one. Okay, sorry, the 9 times table. We've already got the 12 times table. Okay then, so the lowest common multiple of 9 and 12 is is 36. Okay, then we've got 15 and 20. Let's see if we can just think about this one. A good way of doing it is to start with the bigger number and go up that times table until you find a number that is in the smaller one's times table. So for example, what I mean there is start with the big one, so 20, right, 15 doesn't go into 20, 40, 15 doesn't go into 40, 60, yes, 15 does go into 60, so that one is the lowest common multiple. And then 4 and 6, again, if we do it the same way, pick the bigger number and go up that times table until you find the first number that 4 goes into, or that is in the 4 times table. So you've got 6, well 4 doesn't go into that, then it would be 12, and 4 does go into 12, so 12 is the lowest common multiple. Okay, we're just going to do a little bit of work on equivalent fractions now before we go on to our day's learning. So when we create equivalent fractions, we need to make sure that both the numerator and denominator have either been multiplied by the same thing or divided by the same thing. So we can see here that the denominator has been multiplied by 5. So for this fraction to be equal to this one, then the numerator must have been multiplied by 5 as well. So that gives us a 5 on the top there. So a half is equal to 5/10, which we know anyway. That's not a surprise to anybody, I hope. Okay, then the next one, look at what's happened to the 5 to turn it into 20. That's been multiplied by 4. So we need to do the same to the 3 as well. 3 4s are 12. So 3/5 is exactly the same size as 12/20. And then the last one of the starters today, we can see that 9 times 3 is 27. So we need to make sure the top number is also multiplied by 3. So that gives us 5 times 3 is 15. So 5/9 is exactly the same size as 15/27 because those fractions are equivalent. Okay, so look at where we've been and where we're heading. We've looked at mixed numbers and improper fractions. That has been a big help to us when we've been multiplying and dividing fractions. So today we're on to adding and subtracting fractions. We're going to do them both at the same time. And then tomorrow we're going to look again at adding and subtracting fractions, but we're going to include mixed numbers tomorrow. Okay, so all we're going to do is basically work our way through this set of examples and I'll explain what you need to know on the way. Some of you are probably ace at this already because you remember doing it previously, but the work that we do here with numbers is excellent preparation for when we need to do it with letters as well. Okay, so first one, 1/7, add 2/7. Well, a 7th is just a thing. So we've got one of these things here and 2 of the same thing there. So we've got 3 of them all together. So if the denominators match, you can just fill in the answer. So 1/7 add 2/7 makes 3/7. Okay, please notice it's not 3/14. Okay, just think of it like pizza. If you've got a 1/7 of a pizza and 2/7 of a pizza, you've got 3/7 of the pizza overall. Okay, the sizes of the slices don't change just because you're putting them together. Okay, the next one, same sort of idea. We've got 5/8, take away 3/8, so that would leave us with 2/8. But as soon as you get a fraction like 2/8 written down, something should be going ding 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 in your head to tell you to simplify that, because remember these are both in the 2 times table, so 2/8 is equal to 1/4. Okay, right, now we're on to fractions where the denominators don't match. Okay, so we need to find what's called a common denominator. In other words, we need to create equivalent fractions to either one or both of these so that we can subtract them by ending up in this sort of situation where the denominators match. So what we need is the lowest common denominator, and that comes from the lowest common multiple of 8 and 2. So that's like the starter questions that we did. We need to think of what's the smallest number that's in the 8 times table and in the 2 times table. So remember what I said, think about your bigger times table and find the first number in that is also in this times table. So 8 is in the 2 times table, isn't it? So we can do this as 8ths. So what we do is we set this up so that this fraction is going to be equivalent to this one, and this fraction will be equivalent to that one, and then we can go ahead and perform the calculation. Okay, so first of all, this had a denominator of 8. It's still got a denominator of 8. We haven't changed it, so we don't change the top either. This one had a denominator of 2. We've turned it into 8, so we've multiplied it by 4. So we've got to do the same to the top as well. 1 times 4 is 4. So altogether we've got 7/8, take away 4/8, so that's giving us 3/8 altogether. And that fraction won't simplify. Okay, the next one, exactly the same sort of idea, where we need to create equivalent fractions that have got a common denominator. So if we think about the larger one, that's the 10, and we go at the 10 times table till we find a number that's in the 5 times table. Well, because 5 goes into 10, 10 is our lowest common denominator here. So we have a look and see, what did we do to 5 to get 10? Well, we've multiplied by 2, so we need to do the same with the 4 as well. So 4 times 2 is 8. So 8/10 is equivalent to 4/5. So this fraction, we haven't done anything to the 10, so we're not doing anything to the 3. So altogether, 8/10 and 3/10 makes 11/10, which of course you can see is an improper fraction. So if we wanted to, we could change this into a mixed number. So we do top divided by bottom. So 11 divided by 10 is 1, and you've got 1 left over. Okay, either of these two answers is correct, but sometimes the question tells you what form to give your answer in. So you need to be able to do it both ways. Okay, so the next one. Excuse me. So this time we're adding again. And we need to create equivalent fractions for these 6ths and 9ths. So start with a higher number. We're going to go up the 9 times table till we find a number that's in the 6 times table. So we've got 9, then 18, and 18 is in the 6 times table. So 18 is the number that's going in the denominator. Then we create the numerators for our equivalent fractions. So 6 has been multiplied by 3 to get 18. So 5 has to also be multiplied by 3 to give us 15. Then the 9 has been multiplied by 2 to give us 18. So the 2 needs to be multiplied by 2 as well, and that will give us 4. So altogether we've got 15/18 and 4/18 makes 19/18. And when we change that into a mixed number, 19 divided by 18 is 1, and then we've got 1 left over again. So it's 1 and 1/18. Okay, next one. 14/15, take away 3/10. So let's have a think. We need to find out the smallest number that 15 and 10 both go into, and start with the 15, sorry. So 15, 10 doesn't go into 15. 30 would be the next number in the 15 times table, and 10 does go into that. So 30 is the common denominator there, the lowest common denominator. So 15 has been multiplied by 2 to make 30. So 14 needs to be multiplied by 2 to give us 28 on the top. Then 10 has been multiplied by 3 to give us 30. So the 3 needs to be multiplied by 3 to give us 9. So we've got 28/30, take away 9/30 would leave us with 19/30 altogether. And that fraction won't simplify. Okay, just 2 more to go today. We're going to look at the mixed numbers tomorrow. So here again we've got an add, and we're starting off with 3 and 8 in the denominator. So we're going to go up the 8 times table until we find a number that 3 goes into. So 8, nope. 16, nope, 3 doesn't go into 16. 24 would be next, and 3 does go into 24. So 24 is our common denominator, and we're making our equivalent fraction for 2/3 here. So 3 has been multiplied by 8 to give us 24. So 2 needs to be multiplied by 8 as well to give us 16. Then 8 has been multiplied by 3 to give us 24. So we do 5 times 3 is 15. So altogether we've got 16/24, add 15/24, which gives us 31/24. And that's over a whole one, isn't it? So we've got 1 whole 24, and then there are 7 left over. Okay. And then the last one, we've got 10ths and 3rds here. So let's think about the 10 times table. So 3 doesn't go into 10. Then the next number will be 20. 3 doesn't go into 20 either. Then 30. 3 does go into 30. So 30 is going to be our common denominator. Okay, so we've got 7/10. So let's create the equivalent fraction for 7/10. 10 has been multiplied by 3, so the 7 also needs to be multiplied by 3 to give us 21. Then 3 has been multiplied by 10 to give us 30, so the 2 needs to be multiplied by 10 also to give us 20. So we've got 21 30ths, take away 20 30ths, leaves us with just 1 30th. And there's nothing that we can do to simplify that fraction. Okay, so it's the same process each time. You need to create a common denominator if there isn't one already, and you make equivalent fractions and then carry out your add or subtract. Okay, so I'll give you practice questions and we'll go on to the mixed numbers tomorrow. See you then.